I see you. Hey painting pals, welcome back to Mandy's Minis. And today we are out talking all about eyes. This is a fan requested video, and you can see I'm going to paint up this cute little baby beholder. He's so cute, and I got to base coat him last night on our Patreon stream, so that was fun. But I recently painted up this Shoggoth for Ben. He's an optician, so he likes eyes, and I had a request to do a tutorial on how to paint this quality eye on a beholder. Well, I recently painted a beholder, so today I'm painting a baby beholder, so it's a little different. And I love the pastels I have going on. So that's what we're gonna do. Now I'm starting with Reaper Skull and Crossbone. You wanna start with an off-white, something that is clearly not white. Although before we move forward, I do have to say, he looks like he's rolling his eye at me. It's adorable from the overpainting, or the mess up when I was doing the base coating. And it's really cute, but now it's gonna go. So say goodbye to his rolling eye. And actually, especially because that purple, that's my shadow color, so it's pretty dark. So I'm gonna need a couple coats of this. So you don't need to watch me paint all that. All right, so after a couple coats, we're back to mostly white. Not completely, but that's okay. Because the next step is I'm gonna darken the upper part. Eyes work a lot like gemstones or glass or crystals. Basically, they're the reverse of what you would use for natural lighting. So our lighting source is coming from this way based on all the highlights on the skin and horns and everything. So that's going to be more shaded at the top than at the bottom. This is that Skull and Crossbones mixed with just a touch of intermediate blue from AK Interactive, and it's a very gray blue, very, very gray. So that creates this real nice look. Now it is probably more like 2 or 3 to 1, 2 or 3 Skull and Crossbones to the 1 drop of the AK gray. We want a subtle look. We don't want it to be very strong. And then I'm just kind of blending it there at the bottom. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of that on all these other eyes as well. And we're following that same lighting scheme. So the upper portion where that is more towards the light is what I'm going to do here. So we'll get those covered up. And these little ones are so small, I'm not really too worried about the blending, because by the time we put a circle in the middle and everything and do all the other stuff, it'll blend really nicely. I'm actually going to try and take it a step further. I'm going to mix a little white into my Skull and Crossbones. And this is like 2 Skull and Crossbones to 1 white, because again, I just want to bring a little more drastic change here and make it brighter on the bottom. Noticeably. And I'm coming back in with the Skull and Crossbones by itself in the middle, kind of blend it all together. A little bit of feathering here. So that gives us a good base for the eye. Next part I'm going to do, now I'm actually doing a different color. I'm not going to do the green again for the main eye, because I want this one to be far more pastel. Now, if you don't have a piece that you're copying exactly, then look up a reference photo. Find a really cool eye and use that reference photo, and you'll find it to be pretty similar to what I'm doing here. So the outer color of the eye, this little rim, is going to be darker, and then we get lighter inside, and again we're lighter at the bottom than we are at the top. And we have this neat little design that I kind of painted in, and we'll get to that. Don't worry, we'll do something similar. But I'm going to take a little bit of a darker blue. It's not really dark, it's more of a brighter blue. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in. Now, when you're placing eyes, very rarely are they directly in the center. You know, this one doesn't have an eyelid, so that's why it works directly in the center. But for a character, you're either going to anchor it to the top or bottom, because eyes are very rarely just in the center. I think because this one's a baby, I'm going to do up instead of down. We're going to place this And I'm just drawing a circle. Well, a semicircle, because again, we're anchoring it to the top. Now you can fill that in, you cannot fill that in. That's your choice. Now the next color I'm going to use is AK Interactive's Deep Sky Blue. So this is the blue I want, very pastel-y. And so now I'm going to come in and fill that in. And rather than just paint a circle, I'm kind of coming in with a little bit of a pattern here. You'll notice I'm like bringing it in with lines, like around a circle. And that's because if you look at eyes really carefully, they tend to have some kind of pattern in them. Not necessarily repeatable or definable, but because of that, I want to kind of create some form of almost texture, but not quite texture to make that design. That's kind of what I'm doing here. And if you don't get it with that first pass, that's okay. We can come in, we're gonna add some more stuff to it and make it a little different and just make sure it looks good. That's all that matters, is that you're happy with it in the end. And as you can see, I kind of went a little out of the lines there. So I'm gonna reestablish that. I also have an easier time reestablishing to make a nice circle than I do initially drawing it. So reestablishing a circle, usually pretty good. So now I want to create the inner part. So we're going to add that little black. The size of the black can change and vary depending on dilation. And Ben could go into this whole big thing about it. But I'm going to make a fairly, what I would call medium. I'm not going to do too big, but I'm not going to do too small either. There we go. So if you think about it this way, if you're in dark light, the black part of your eye is going to get bigger because it's going to dilate to let more light in. And when you're in the bright area, it's going to go dimmer. Well, a baby beholder is going to be in his cave, so it's going to be pretty dark. So I'm going to go on the bigger side. All right, now is the fun part. Now we're going to start playing with the patterning. This is a blue-green Caribbean blue scale color. It's just going to give me a very subtle look to it. I'm kind of doing a little zigzag here. And the thing about this one being so subtle is it's just supposed to be a slight shift for the pattern. And in fact, I'm going to go over it again with the blue because blue should still be our dominant color. So as much as I want that there, I don't want it to be the most prominent look. And this is really where I have no good instructions for you. The idea is follow your reference photo, check it out, see what pattern the eye has, and try and mimic it. Just have fun. Now I'm going to go into, this is a Reaper color, but this is a Reaper sample. And one of the amazing things Reaper does is sometimes they'll have like misprints and things like that. So they'll throw the word sample on it and give them out for freebies in your orders. So that's pretty cool, but unfortunately you can't like really reorder it or anything. But it's a very pastel green. And I'm gonna just put some little dots and specks in. Again, we're just creating a little pattern with the eye. And come in and redo this black and also try and make that circle a little more circle and round. Once again, I'm better with fixing than actually initially drawing. There we go, much better. So now next part, I'm gonna make a glaze. And I'm doing a glaze of the Plasma Blue. This is the one I did for the Reaper. This is the one I did for the outline. And I'm gonna hit that on the top because again, we want to glaze that top part a little bit darker than the bottom because of the way the light's going to reflect out of the eye. And then I'm going to do a little glaze of my Deep Sky Blue, my main color. And I'm going to glaze a little bit of that down here at the bottom. Once again, we're trying to kind of turn it back to that color more than the other ones and the patterns. So we do want to keep those glazes thin. just kind of shifting them a bit. Next, I am actually going to grab some white, and this is going to be my white mixed with the skull and crossbone. So this is not a pure white, and I am just going to add some. I can't pull up my reference photo because I'm filming with my camera, so I'm kind of using my Shoggoth as a reference photo, which I did use a reference photo to create. So what I was doing there, those little white dots are just the very, very bottom here. At the very bottom, there's like a small ring of white. So that's what I was putting back in. It's not going to be so obvious with the light blue eye, but it's there. And the next thing I'm going to jump to is the veining on the side. All right, now that was done with red, because if you're doing a typical eye, that's the color. Since I'm doing pastels, I actually have been using AKA magenta to be my like blood under the skin. So that's the color for the lips, and you can see it glazed into the skin and the sides of the eye here. So that's what I'm going to use. And I'm switching now to my detail brush rather than my workhorse brush so that I can get finer details and finer lines with those. Shape my brush. So I've got my brush all loaded with a pretty good amount of water, and we're going to do thin lines, and we're just going to make random wiggles very, very lightly. I cannot stress that enough. Do not push hard on it. And we're going to focus mostly on the sides. So again, over here as well. Oh, that was way too hard. That's what happens when you push too hard. You get lines that are too thick. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to go through and take this off because I was pushing way too hard while telling you not to. Do as I say, not as I do, if you want to do it right the first time. Otherwise, you can just push back the step. It's okay. Add a little more gray at the top here. The nice thing is the next step after that, we're going to be doing a little glazing of it. You don't have to worry about covering completely over if you mess up. And again, check your reference photos, because I bet you'll find some really fun shapes in the veins. I'm going to come over here and do these a little bit longer. So now what we're going to do is take that magenta, and I'm making a glaze, a very, 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 very thin glaze. Very, very thin. Okay, and I am just going to go very lightly around the edge. And it is very important you stay super thin on this, because if you might be looking at that going, well, I don't see anything. That's right. But once I do that 2 or 3 times, you're going to see this wonderful buildup that's going to look very natural like this. But if you jump too fast, you're going to miss that and go straight to too thick. So it's very important that you stay very, very light on this. And I know I'm usually the first one to say, I ain't got time. I don't have time to do 2 thin coats. Yeah, I've got time. If you want this to look right, you've got time to sit there and make sure you get 2 or 3 coats super thin, just to get that little bit. All right, and now you should be able to see it. So we've got that little bit of pink tint, but not overpowering. We are almost done with the main eye. So the next part is just going to be those reflective highlights. And they are done in white. And first thing I did was a glaze. So I'm going to take the white very thinly to first outline the shape that I'm going for. Oh, there's still pink on that. And then the shape over here. Then I'll come back and reinforce and darken it where I need to darken to get those different reflections and higher points. So let's take care of that. We're going to get some water into my white to make this glaze. And once again, we want to do it very lightly because we want to make sure we're hitting the right spots before we end up undoing all of this work. And it goes out that way, and it actually skips over and comes out this way. And this is why it's important that your undercolor was lighter, because we want to make sure that your highlights here, your reflections, show up against the lighter white, which right now it's not. That's because that was only step one. So then over here, we're doing a little out this way. That doesn't look right. All right, this is what I'm talking about. If I had done that very heavy, that would have been really hard, but I actually put that in the wrong placement. So now I'm gonna redo it and reestablish my colors here. And the nice thing is that can just become part of the pattern. I don't even have to cover it all the way, just a little bit, and then we're okay. So it's a very quick fix when you mess it up. But we want to go up, actually. We want to go this way. Now, right in here. So now I'm going to grab a little more white. This is still, I would say, glaze consistency, but a little thicker. And I'm going to kind of reestablish where I want it to be darker, which the whole thing over here I want to be a little bit darker. And back here, actually I think I want a little light, kind of connecting that, but very soft, softer than that. So that way we're kind of showing the fact that the light is interfering with the coloring a little bit. There we go. And here I'm gonna go straight for, this side's a little bit weirder to read, so I'm just gonna go straight for my higher highlights. This is pure layer paint, and I'm just gonna put the major highlights where I know they go. Now the rest I can do very lightly, getting between those. And there we go. Once again, we've got a little different color because I did baby blue instead of green, but overall a pretty similar look right there. And again, play with the different colors. I mean, if we wanted to, I'm going to take another little color here. I can just kind of add some more color in here to adjust the eye a little bit, a little more patterning. If I choose I want to do that, come back with the green. I'm sorry, not the green, the blue. That was a green, it was a yellow green that I just added to it. So you can keep adjusting as you want until you get it how you want and what you like. And that's the fun part. Eyes can be pretty much anything. They can be any colors, they can have any kind of pattern and mixing. You know, my eyes go from blue to green to gray depending on what's going on, what the lighting is around me, what colors you're seeing around me. So I can speak from personal experience. Eyes don't always stay the same. But there we go. We have a very nice eye on a baby beholder. Just one more thing. I have finished and came in with a Tamiya flat clear sealer. So I like to do that because it makes it flat. However, if we really want our eyes to shine and look like something special, we need to add one more thing. And it's subtle, but highly, highly important. And that is, as I open it, Pokey Tool gloss varnish. We're going to gloss up those eyes, especially now that we flattened down the rest of the paint job. So all I'm doing is spread the gloss into a well palette, and I'm just going to paint on this nice clear glossy coat, and that's going to make it shine, especially in comparison to the flat of everything else. And that gives you more of a wet look. And I'm going to put some by the mouth too, because of course it's a baby. There's going to be drool and dribble and de slobber. There we go. And now on to final photos. If Taylor would be so kind as to show us to the final product, while I say thank you so much as always for watching another one. I really appreciate it. I know this one was a bit longer, but it was also a bit more in depth, so I hope you got a little extra from it. If so, or if not, let me know in the comments below. I always read and respond to all the comments. I love interacting with you. While you're down there, if you feel like giving us a like or a subscribe or even a share, any little bit helps. But a big special thank you to our patrons. We absolutely love you. You're our heroes. Those are our painting heroes, everyone, who help support the channel. Not gonna get bogged down too much in this. It's been fun, but I'm gonna finish my baby beholder that you're looking at right now. So until next time, have fun and keep creating.